The night she told me she was done, I asked her when this started. She said, 8 months ago. You just weren't paying attention. 8 months. That number stayed with me. In my head, everything had been fine this whole time. I want to show you what I found when I looked back. The signs were there. I just never read them. We'd been together 4 years. Good years, I thought. Friday takeout. Sunday coffee on the porch. I thought routines meant stability. I didn't know routines are also where people quietly disappear. It started on an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. She didn't ask about my day, just said, "Food's in the fridge." I didn't think much of it. I was tired. She was probably tired too. That kept happening. Fewer questions. Fewer stories. I actually felt relief. Less talking felt easier. That's the hard part to admit now. I mistook her quiet for peace. Silence in a relationship rarely means nothing's happening. It means something is happening quietly enough to ignore. Month 2, she stopped talking about the future. No more trips, no more someday plans with me in them. Some part of me noticed. But noticing and admitting are two different things. It was easier to keep moving forward. I told myself things would fix themselves eventually. Month 3, during a movie, she said something quiet. "Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who tries," I said. "That's not true," and kept watching. 4 words. That's all I gave her. She just handed me the truth of everything, and I dismissed it because it was easier than facing it. I didn't dismiss it because I didn't care. Acknowledging it meant I'd have to actually do something. Month 4, she started going to bed earlier. Our late-night talks quietly disappeared. I told myself she was just tired from work. Tired became my excuse for everything. Month 5, she made more plans with her friends. Weekends I used to assume were ours. I felt a flicker when she told me. I pushed it down and said, "Sounds fun." That flicker was important information. She was quietly building a life without me in it. Month 6, we had a real argument. Over something small. I'd forgotten a promise. She got more upset than the moment called for. I never once asked what was actually underneath it. The argument was never about what I forgot. It was about feeling unheard, for a long time. That night she said, "I'm always the one bringing things up." I told her I just wasn't a talk about everything person. I thought I was being honest. I was actually refusing to meet her halfway. Month 7, she stopped reaching for my hand during movies. I noticed. I actually noticed, and said nothing. Her hand sat near mine, not touching it. I thought about saying something. Then I stayed quiet. That silence is what I regret most. Not fear of losing her. Fear of the effort to fix it. Month 8, her language started changing. Not, "we should." Just, "I think I'll." I told myself I was overthinking small words. I wasn't. Language shifts before actions do. The night she told me she was done, it wasn't a shock. Some part of me had known for weeks. She didn't yell. She didn't cry, not at first. She said calmly, "I don't think I can keep doing this." I asked, "Doing what?" She said, "Being the only one still trying." I asked why she never told me clearly. She said, "I did. Multiple times. You never took it seriously." That broke something open in me, because it was completely true. She'd told me in small sentences, across 8 months. I heard every one. I acted on none. I wasn't oblivious because I didn't care. I was oblivious because calm felt safer than honest. Growing up, my parents never really discussed conflict. Problems just quietly existed, then quietly disappeared. I learned that not reacting meant handling things well. I carried that lesson into every relationship after. When she brought something up, I stayed calm. I reassured her fast and moved on. I thought that made me mature. I was actually just avoiding the real conversation. The weeks after she left were the hardest of my life. Not because I didn't see it coming. I went back through months of memories, each one small. Together, they told the whole story. I called my brother, trying to make sense of it. He said, "Relationships don't end in an explosion. They end in 100 quiet moments nobody noticed." That sentence explained everything. I'd been waiting for one big warning sign. Relationships erode slowly, one small moment at a time. I'm the only one who tries. That was her reaching out. I'm always the one bringing things up. That too. I treated each one as a separate complaint. I never connected them into the pattern they were. A few weeks later, I found her old journal. I opened to a page from month 5. It said, "I don't think he knows how tired I am. I don't think he'd know even if I told him." Reading that hit me harder than anything. She had predicted honesty wouldn't even reach me. And she was right. Because it hadn't. I wasn't missing signs by accident. I was built not to see them. Staying calm had always felt like a strength. It had actually become a wall. She'd been speaking from the other side of that wall for 8 months straight. I started therapy, trying to understand my own behavior. He asked, "What were you feeling underneath the calm?" Eventually, I admitted it. I had been afraid that facing it meant admitting I was failing. So I smoothed every conversation over instead, and called it composure. This wasn't new. I'd done it with friends, with family. Anytime someone brought up something hard, I rushed past it. I thought this made me easy to be around. It actually made me unreachable, exactly when it mattered. 6 months later, I heard she was doing well, dating again, happy. I felt relief mixed with regret. Relief she found peace. Regret I couldn't give it to her. I started paying closer attention after that. Not just to words, to the small shifts underneath them. People tell you something's wrong long before they say it out loud. Less laughter, shorter replies, effort flowing one way. I'd never trained myself to read that language, because reading it meant I'd have to respond. A year later, I started dating again. Slowly. She mentioned feeling disconnected after a hard week. Old me would have said, "That makes sense," and moved on. New me asked a follow-up question instead. That one question opened 20 minutes of honesty. Things she hadn't planned on saying that night. People rarely hand you their feelings directly. They hand you small doors and wait to see if you'll walk through. I'd spent years walking past those doors because noticing them took more effort than I wanted to give. Now I saw those 8 months differently, not a mystery, a series of doors I never opened. I think about that night more than I'd like to admit, not with anger at her, with clarity about myself. She didn't leave suddenly. I stopped showing up long before she said the words. There's a grief in realizing you lost someone slowly. In 100 moments, you could have leaned into. I used to think avoiding conflict was respect. Now I know it's just neglect, wearing a calmer face. Avoiding the hard conversation doesn't protect a relationship, it just delays the ending. I think about her journal entry often, proof of my blind spot, handed to me too late. Silence in a relationship is never really silent. It has a shape, a pattern, small sentences waiting to be heard. The tragedy isn't that she stopped speaking. It's that I never learned to listen in time. People don't leave the moment they stop loving you. They leave months after they've already tried to tell you. "I'm done" is rarely the beginning of the end. It's just the final sentence. She didn't leave suddenly. I spent 8 months mistaking her quiet for peace. It was never peace. It was a question, asked over and over, waiting for an answer. If you're in a relationship right now, listen closely. The quiet moments are rarely as quiet as they seem. Someone might be telling you something right now. Not in words. In the small things they stopped doing. I learned this lesson too late to save what I had. I'm telling you now, so you don't have to. She didn't leave me suddenly. I just wasn't paying attention. Sometimes love doesn't end with one goodbye. Sometimes it ends with hundreds of tiny moments that nobody thought mattered, until they did.